What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the ZayMoolaSportsPodcast. I'm your host, Isaiah. We had a huge trade happen today in the NFL as the Miami Dolphins traded star wide receiver Jaylen Waddle to the Denver Broncos in exchange for the Broncos' 2026 first, third, and fourth round picks. And in return, the Broncos got Jaylen Waddle and a 2026 fourth round pick. So really, the Broncos just gave up their first and third round picks since they had a fourth round pick swap with the Dolphins. And I really love this trade for the Broncos, but I want to talk about what this trade signifies for the Miami Dolphins, because this is truly the end of an era for the Dolphins. Because just 3 years ago, y'all, they were building what they thought was going to be a Super Bowl caliber team, as they had Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb, Xavier Howard, Devon Achane, and Raheem Mostert. Right, they had, this great collection of talent, both offensively and defensively. They had arguably the best offense in the 2023 season, and they had a very good defense, and it looked as if they were going to be championship contenders for years to come. But unfortunately, y'all, that never came to fruition, and we could start to see that they were kind of heading in a new direction last year when they traded away Jalen Ramsey, and got rid of Xavier Howard. So that already was a signal that they were thinking about potentially, starting a new era of Dolphins football. But as we know, they did roll into the season with Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and Jaylen Waddle, three players that several teams were interested in, particularly Jaylen Waddle, as we know that the Denver Broncos actually attempted to acquire him at the 2025 NFL trade deadline. But at that point, the Dolphins were hesitant to move them. And I think, y'all, that really the Dolphins wanted to keep Jaylen Waddle, but I think they saw the writing on the wall that this is a rebuild, right? They have Malik Willis. He's going to be their starting quarterback, and for them, they hope he can become their franchise quarterback, but they're really starting over. They have a lot of young players on their team that have not developed right now, so they want to see what they have in those guys, and they just really saw that there was no reason, to keep Jaylen Waddle, a player who is amazing, one of the best receivers in the NFL. But what's the point of keeping him when we're not going to be competing for a championship, right? So I just think they realized that it was time to part ways, and I love the return they got, y'all. Again, getting a first and third round pick, which means that the Dolphins now possess 2 first round picks in this year's draft, right? Have the 11th pick and now the 30th pick, which will allow them to potentially draft a receiver or a corner or offensive lineman. So I really love that for them. And also, y'all, this should give some of their young wide receivers a chance to really shine, particularly their third-year receiver Malik Washington, who I believe can become a very good player in this league. So now he's going to have an opportunity to really show people what he can do. But again, y'all, it's the start of a new era for the Miami Dolphins. And I'm sure some Dolphins fans are probably sad about this, because again, just 3 years ago, it really looked like that they were going to be a great team, potentially a Super Bowl caliber team for years to come. And unfortunately, y'all, due to injuries and bad play, they were not able to reach this goal. But the great news is that they have a new head coach and GM in place, right? Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan. I think both of these men are going to lead the Dolphins in the right direction, and they have a lot of draft picks to really be able to address their needs. So like this trade for the Miami Dolphins, but y'all, I absolutely love this trade for the Denver Broncos, because this is exactly what they needed, right? We all knew that although, they won 14 games last season, went to the AFC Championship game, we knew that there was something missing from their team, and particularly at the wide receiver position, because although they had Courtland Sutton, who's a very good wide receiver, and Troy Franklin, who is a young up-and-coming receiver, they really needed a dynamic threat at receiver, y'all. They needed someone that could really take the top off the defense and stretch the defense vertically. They didn't have that, but now they have it, y'all, in Jaylen Waddle, who is arguably the most explosive receiver in the NFL. You talk about a guy that has a lot of juice and dynamic ability in his game, super explosive with the football in his hands. And now, y'all, he's really going to open up things underneath for Courtland Sutton and Evan Ingram to really work, on the intermediate part of the field. So I really love this, because not only is he going to command attention, y'all, but because he's going to command attention, that's going to make, life easier for Courtland Sutton and Evan Ingram. And now, y'all, Troy Franklin, who was a number 2 wide receiver last year, now he's going to be a number 3 receiver. So you have to love the Broncos trio of wide receivers with Courtland Sutton, Jaylen Waddle, and Troy Franklin. I've seen some people out there suggest that they should trade away Troy Franklin. Absolutely not, y'all. It's a really great problem to have when you have 3 incredibly talented receivers on your team. That is the problem, quote unquote, that the Broncos have, which again is a very great problem to have. So I love the wide receiver trio that they now possess, y'all. And I think Bo Nix is going to have a career year, right? He had a great rookie year, kind of struggled a little bit in his sophomore year, but I think his third year, y'all, his junior year in the NFL is going to be his best year. Obviously, he's coming off, a pretty major knee injury, but I think when he is 100% healthy, I mean, you look at the weapons that this Broncos offense now possess. With, again, y'all, Jaylen Waddle, Courtland Sutton, Evan Ingram, Troy Franklin, right? Then you have J.K. Dobbins in the backfield. Man, I really love this Broncos offense. Obviously, they still have an elite defense, arguably the best defense in the NFL, and now they just added one of the most explosive, one of the most dynamic playmakers in all of football in Jaylen Waddle. And y'all, they didn't have to give up too much, right? They gave it their first round pick, but that was pick 30. It was a late round first pick. And hey, for a player like Jaylen Waddle, I would do it every single day of the week. And a third round pick, decently valuable, but we know, y'all, third round picks are not a guarantee to become great players. Heck, sometimes even first round picks don't become great players. So when you have an opportunity to acquire a great player, especially when you're a team like the Denver Broncos that was oh so close to making it to the Super Bowl last season, you have to strike while the iron's hot, y'all, because as we know, these Super Bowl windows, man, they will close very quickly. You might think that you have, 3, 4, or 5 years to compete for a Super Bowl, but you might only have a couple of years to compete for a Super Bowl. So you definitely need to take advantage of the opportunity when the opportunity, possesses itself. That's what they've done, y'all. Again, adding a great, electric, dynamic playmaker in Jaylen Waddle, who is really going to help their offense out in a tremendous way. So again, y'all, like this trade for the Dolphins because they get some valuable draft capital, but I absolutely love this trade for the Denver Broncos, and I think that the Broncos are the team to beat in the AFC, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do this upcoming season. So there you have it, man. This was my take on the Miami Dolphins trading star receiver Jaylen Waddle to the Broncos, and why I really like it for the Broncos. Remember, y'all, laughter is good medicine. So what? Make sure you get your daily dose. Y'all know I'm in it, man. I love y'all. God bless. Peace.